What's going on, guys? This is Ryan with the RK Outpost, and ever since the movie Eternals was announced for Marvel, it's basically been marketed as diversity and representation, the film. You have race swaps, you have gender swaps, you have handicapped superheroes, and of course, you have LGBTQ plus superheroes. And we thought it was going to be a critic's wet dream, but that the audience was probably going to absolutely despise this movie because the focus seemed to be on diversity instead of the story. Well, as it turns out, the critic reviews are starting to come in, and they're shockingly low. In fact, it's the lowest rated Marvel movie of all time when it comes to the MCU. Take a look at the headline from Cosmic Book News. Eternals is the worst Marvel movie. Rotten Tomatoes score plummets. And indeed, at least for an MCU movie, I would call this plummeting. A 64% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes. And that is pretty low for Marvel. Now, a DC movie, we've seen what happens with Warner Bros. They might beg to have that kind of review from the critics, but the audience score is always going to be something different. And to be clear, I don't really care too much about what the critics think. However, in this case, it's really interesting that these things are coming in. Because like I said in the beginning, this movie the entire time seemed to be geared specifically towards woke critics. Diversity and representation, and that is what they basically planted the flag in the ground on. They said, this is what we're doing. And a couple years ago, Kevin Feige made that commitment. Kevin Feige affirms Marvel Studios' focus on diversity. And in fact, when it comes to this movie specifically, he said the LGBTQ plus relationship is an inherent part of the story. And we've heard all about how they specifically chose these characters so they could do race swaps, so they could do gender swaps on lesser known characters. And so far, the critics that this was clearly aimed for, not the fans, because the focus was not on the story. The focus was not on rewarding fans for knowing these characters and these stories. The focus was clearly on the woke crowd and the woke critics. And so far, it hasn't resonated. And you can see when we go down here and look through some of these rotten reviews, it's still over 50. Let's be clear, it's still over 50. It's still over 60%. The majority of critics did still like this movie. But the fact that it's the lowest ever, less than Thor: A Dark World, right? Less than a movie like Captain Marvel, which, critics did actually like, but less than anything that the MCU's ever put out is a little bit shocking to me, to be quite honest with you. And when you look at some of these scathing reviews, this is Rolling Stone, a pretty woke publication, to be honest with you. The hot gods of Eternals will bore you to death with their feelings. In the latest MCU movie, sexy superheroes care more about their own melodramas than the humans they're supposed to be saving. Well, let's go to ageofthegeek.org. Eternals, ensemble diversity casting high, but entertainment value very low. So this is criticism about the focus completely being on diversity and representation and not the actual story. And that is a major part of the problem. And I think that Matt McGloin points out somewhere, yeah, he does, right here. A character I grew up with, Makari, a redheaded dude, was replaced by a deaf female person of color in Eternals. Why? All for the sake of political correctness. And that's what they did, and they promoted it. Look, we have our first deaf superhero. This is incredible. This is remarkable. You need to watch it for this. No, we fucking don't. We don't need to watch it for that. Let's keep on going. TheOnlyCritic.com. Eternals review. Chloe Zhao can't make sense of convoluted Marvel misfire. Not a great one. The New York Post. Eternals review. One of Marvel's worst movies so far. These are just blatantly honest thrashings of these movies. And here's MovieWeb. Marvel's Eternals. A sappy superhero soap opera. I don't think this was really the tone that they were looking to set with the Eternals, but this is the one that they have. And when it comes to how this movie is going to resonate with fans, how it's going to do in the box office, I don't know. I think it'll probably do somewhere along the same lines as like Shang-Chi and Black Widow did when you're talking about the worldwide box office. 400 million, right around there. Maybe this gets pushed up to 5. I will say, this movie is $200 million. I feel like it's been marketed a lot. I feel like I've seen it everywhere. No idea what the marketing budget was for this movie, but you'd think that $500 million is about that level that it needs to hit to break even. And I think, listen, it's a Marvel movie. We see what Shang-Chi did, which all this celebration from these people while Shang-Chi made basically $10 or $12, barely breaking even. But that, a little bit more than that is kind of what my expectation will be, but maybe this movie will flop. Who knows? If the critics don't like it, usually when the critics don't like something, we see the audience loving it. I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case here. I'm shocked that the critics haven't bought in more to the woke agenda. That should tell you how bad this movie may be, how convoluted it may be, how stupid it may be, that not even diversity and representation galore could salvage it for some of these critics. Time will tell. I guess we'll see when it comes out what the audience reaction may be. What do you guys think? Are you surprised by this? Are you surprised by the fact that this critic's wet dream that it was supposed to be so far is the worst MCU movie in history when it comes to the reviews? Let me know in the comments below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching, everyone, and a huge shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram? Check out the description below. You'll find links to my P.O. box and my Patreon as well. And I'll talk to you guys later.